Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, welcome to With Jewish Youth. I certainly hope you had a Freilichen Shabbos, a Lichtigen Shabbos, and that you enjoyed your family with you at the Shabbos table and throughout the entire Shabbos. Tonight we have with us once again Rabbi Berel Levy, who was with us on Thursday night, and he got everybody so hepped up that my office was going literally crazy over the weekend. People calling in and asking me all kinds of questions. I'm not the authority on Kashruth, not by a long shot. I never claimed to be that, and I hope you people will forgive me if we couldn't really answer all the questions that you sent our way. However, if you have any questions you would like to send along to Rabbi Levy, I don't mind your writing either to us or to him personally, and we'll try to see to it that he gives you an answer. He gets loads and loads of questions that come in mail, and it's a very simple way how to address your remarks or your questions or your letters. All you have to do is write to the Jewish Homemaker, Post Office Box 324, Brooklyn, New York 11204. If you would like to jot it down, do it very quickly. The Jewish Homemaker, Post Office Box 324, Brooklyn, New York 11204. Rabbi Levy is the Kashruth administrator of the OK Laboratories. He's the editor and publisher of the magazine known as The Jewish Homemaker, and for the past 15 years has been an authority on Kashruth, so much so that he is considered today as a top authority on Kashruth. Thursday night, we were discussing the question of glatt kosher. Rabbi Levy brought out the significance of seeing to it, before you worry about glatt kosher, to have the proper shechet, to know that the one who slaughtered the meat slaughtered it properly, and then all that had to follow after slaughtering, the inspection of the animal and so on and so forth, was done properly. And as he said, in his young days, we didn't even know about the term of glatt kosher. And we sort of had to stop right in the middle of all of this. And so, Rabbi Levy, if you please, I'd like to get back to this, but some of the people called and they asked, but what happens after you have the animal already slaughtered and perhaps ready to go to the butcher shop? What happens then? Where does the glatt kosher business come in there?
Just let me review briefly what I said last week, and we spoke about the glatt kosher. As I said before, that we are very much concerned with the sheichet to make sure that the sheichet fulfills the requirements of what a sheichet should be, namely that he is a Yirah Shemayim, that he is a God-fearing individual, a Jew who observes Torah, a Jew who is concerned with Torah, a Jew who is concerned with what he is doing and knows thoroughly of what he is doing. This is one of the most important things that we are concerned with when we buy meat and when we buy kosher meat or kosher chicken. We want to make sure that the sheichet is a Yirah Shemayim, a God-fearing individual. The next problem, of course, is after we know that we've got it from a kosher sheichet, and we know that the sheichet is reliable. And of course, how do we know that the sheichet is reliable? If we know that we're buying from a shchita, which is a supervised shchita by either a Hasidic shchita, as I mentioned last week, a Satmar shchita, a Lubavitcher shchita, a Tzelem shchita, this type of shchita where we know that the rabbis who are supervising the shchita are making sure that the shachtim are shachtim that are Yirah Shemayim. After we know that we're getting from these particular shchitas, then we've got to be concerned where this meat goes to. It has to be kasher, it has to be trevet, it has to be taken care of properly, which is done by the butcher. Now again, there we have to see that either the butcher is under the supervision of one of these Hasidic Rebbeim that I mentioned before, or that he is under a Rav who we know and we're sure is reliable, or we personally know that the butcher is a butcher that we can rely upon, and we know that the butcher is again a Yirah Shemayim, a butcher that is a God-fearing individual that we can rely upon his kashrus, that he's doing his work properly. Now let me get back to something that I mentioned last week. Unfortunately today, there is glatt kosher, which is questionably whether it's kosher at all, not only that it's kosher, like restaurants and other places or butcher stores where they do not have the proper hashgacha. And we walk into a butcher store, and as long as he's got the sign glatt, we're satisfied that this place is kosher. This is something that must be corrected. You should not go into a restaurant. You should not go into a butcher store unless you are sure that this restaurant or this butcher has proper hashgacha, or that you personally know the man who is running this butcher, or you personally know the person who is running this here restaurant, that he is 100% reliable. And the word glatt today no longer means anything, because I personally have seen people who have run restaurants that, as I said last week, who are in their private lives are Machalel Shabbos, and they're running restaurants and running butcher stores that carry signs glatt kosher. So you must be very, very careful. There's another thing that I have noticed in recent years. I'm going to get away from meat for 1 minute, and that is restaurants like pizza shops and other places like that, where they put up a sign and they put in small words the cheese used here, and then in large words they will say is under the supervision of Rabbi Breuer, or under the supervision of another reliable certification, and the store is not run by a person who himself is reliable. And he puts a sign like that, and the people see on the sign Rabbi Breuer, and they think the institution is under Rabbi Breuer's supervision. And all he has there is that the cheese that he's using, and may not be all the cheese that he's using, but he may have available in his store cheese under that supervision. And on that basis alone, they go into a store, in a pizza shop, and they don't know who the man is who runs the pizza shop or is running the restaurant, and they go in because they think that the person is closed on Shabbos, that he is a reliable individual. That no longer is the truth, unfortunately, because there are people whose stores are closed on Shabbos, but in their personal lives are not Shomer Shabbos. And even if somebody is a Shomer Shabbos, he should be supervised properly, because there are so many ingredients that go into these products that you've got to make sure that they themselves may not even know whether these products are kosher. Therefore, they themselves need supervision and reliable supervision. So unless you know who these people are, that they are qualified to run these kind of institutions on their own without supervision, or else that they have proper supervision, if you want to be an observant, Kashruth observant Jew, you should not go into these places.
Rabbi Levy, one of the cover-ups that is being used in a restaurant, in the catering hall, in the hotels, is when they tell you we got a mashgiach. Now, some of these mashgichim aren't even fit, if I may, God forgive me, and I hope my audience will forgive me, they aren't even fit to be a boot black, to shine shoes. And they come in and they put on a yarmulke, and some of them let a little Van Dyke grow, and all of a sudden they take over the role of mashgichim, and they are supposed to be the facade, so to speak, that decorate the place as the sign for kashrus. Now, you know very well there are many people who are not very, very observant, but they don't want to eat not kosher food. And they come to a wedding, they come to a bar mitzvah, they come to a hotel for Pesach. They want to feel at least that they're eating kosher. Pesach, I would say, even more than the rest of the year. They remember this yet from their old country, from their parents, grandparents. This business with the mashgichim, how do you see this? Are they reliable? Can you really rely? You said we should know who the man is. Now, I don't have to tell you, Rabbi Levy, the hotels, not of all of them. We don't know even the backgrounds, but many, many of them have advertised as kosher for Passover, and they have a mashgiach on the premises. What does all this add up to? How could an ordinary layman really know where to go and what to eat and what to do and how to react and how to act and so on? They don't want to feel outside the party. They don't want to feel like a square in a round hole. But what is the answer to this? How does really one go about this? Now, I hope I'm not putting you on the spot, Rabbi, but you're the man who's the expert in kashrus.
The easiest answer to that question is Ashrei Yeshvei Veisecha. Ashrei Yeshvei Veisecha means fortunate is a person who stays and seats in his own home. Of course, that nothing is equivalent to that. If you eat your own home, of course, you're the safest. The only thing that I can say is this, that it is a problem, and what you should do is, you belong to a congregation, you belong to a shul, you have a rabbi. The rabbi should be the authority in your life, and he should be in a position, and I'm of course referring to an Orthodox rabbi, and an Orthodox rabbi who is a qualified Orthodox rabbi. Unfortunately, we have Orthodox rabbis today also who are not qualified to be Orthodox rabbis. But I'm talking about most of us. I imagine the people that I'm addressing this evening realize that there are Rabbanim, and the Rabbanim should be the ones that you should ask if the Hashgacha is reliable. And if the Hashgacha is reliable, then of course if you rely upon this Rav for the other questions, you can rely upon this Rav for the questions as for the reliability of Hecht. It's a difficult problem. I've been myself in places that have kosher supervision. As a matter of fact, I've been on a boat recently where they serve kosher meals, and I went onto this boat and I saw that they have a kosher kitchen, so to speak, and they have kosher meat on the board, and they had kosher products. The only thing is that they cook them in the same equipment that they cook the treifa products. They kept the stove separate, but the stove is enough to cook perhaps a little bit cereal in the morning. But if they have more than 10 people, they have to use the treifa stoves. There's no mashgiach on board, and if there is a mashgiach, as the rabbi said, who knows how reliable the mashgiachim are. And if there isn't a reliable supervision, a Rav that you know you can rely upon, an agency of kashrus that you know you can rely upon, then of course your best bet is, as I said before, Ashrei Yeshvei Veisecha.
Rabbi, I hope, I really sometimes hope that we could work it out the way you say, but all right, I do take your advice. I think the rabbi should be the one to make the investigation and to be the authority. Let me go off to something else now. You have been printing for the past number of years a magazine called The Homemaker. And this Homemaker magazine seems to be, from what the regards that I've gotten from many, many different areas, a very, very important piece of literature. A piece of literature that really contributes a great deal to the home and to the kashrus of the home. And I think that this is the kind of a magazine that every Jewish mother should have at home, aside the fact that the contents are some very excellent articles, but you also have many questions on kashrus, many answers on kashrus. First, tell me a little bit more how this magazine came to be. Whom are you serving? What kind of people are on your subscription list? And then we'll go on from there.
This magazine has been published for the last 6 years. Prior to that, there was a little magazine that came out by the OK Laboratories called the Kosher Food Guide, and I felt that it needed improvement, so we improved this magazine to make it a little more attractive than the older magazine was. This magazine has articles of interest. In addition to the kashrus, we have articles. We have articles from the Lubavitcher Rebbe every issue, pardon me. There isn't an issue that doesn't have something from the Rebbe's Shlita. In addition to that, we have many, many interesting writers. Everything I discussed here today, and perhaps everything that I will discuss in the future, is somewhere mentioned in our magazine. We keep you current on everything that is happening in the field of kashrus. What I spoke about in Glatt Kosher was printed in the magazine. What I spoke about in reference to vegetable shortening and to many, many other problems in kashrus, you find the answers to all these problems in the magazine, in addition to questions that are sent in to us. If I feel that these questions are relevant to the public as a whole, it's not a question that is a personal question or a question which is only relevant to the individual who's asking this question, I answer the questions in the magazine. The magazine is available by writing to the Jewish Homemaker, the Post Office Box 324, Brooklyn, New York, 11204. It's published 5 times a year. The magazine costs $3 a year. If you subscribe for 2 years, you only have to pay $5. You can save $1. As I said before, you can obtain this magazine by writing to the Jewish Homemaker, Post Office Box 324, Brooklyn, New York, 11204. The magazine goes out to homes throughout the country. I'm proud to say that the magazine has made at least 100 kosher homes. I am amazed myself to the people that it goes out to. It goes out to the far corners of the world, and we get subscribers to places I've never heard of, and it's thank God accomplished a lot of Yiddishkeit. I said I was out of the field of chinuch. I think this is the only thing that I do in a substantial sort of a way in the field of chinuch, because we have accomplished a lot for Yiddishkeit through the publication of this magazine.
I should like to add that it's a beautiful magazine. First of all, it's turned out on beautiful stock, and there are pictures. There are some very, very attractive scenes there that I think would be very interesting for a Jewish home, and it makes for good reading. Rabbi Levy, I hate to be doing this to you, but I have to put you on the spot once again. There is a very, very sharp complaint that is around town. And that is, Rabbi, they say to me, why is it that kosher meat is so high? Why must we pay so much more money for a pound of kosher meat? Why can't it be competitive? And the same thing goes for some of the kosher cheeses and other products like that. Now, I don't want to discourage anybody, God forbid, in any way. However, I think it's important that we air this complaint, and from a man like you, maybe we'll get the kind of an answer that will either cause the companies to drop the price, or at least will make the home owner or the housewife understand why it's a legitimate expense. And of course, sometimes to be a Jew, it has to cost you something. So if it means a couple of pennies more in a pound, we shouldn't be so upset about it. What explanation, Rabbi Levy, could you give us to this?
Let me begin first with glatt kosher meat. I spoke about it before, and I want you to understand why glatt kosher meat, particularly the glatt kosher meat produced by the Hasidic butchers and by the Hasidic shchitas, why their prices are so high. They have to slaughter their meat in slaughterhouses that have shachtim. Now, they bring in their own shachtim because of the caliber of shachtim that they want, as I mentioned before. They bring in their own shachtim, which makes it much costlier, because the slaughterhouse has to pay for the shachtim who are there for the regular shchitas. And the purchasers of the meat for the glatt kosher have to pay for the regular shachtim in addition to their own shachtim, which makes the meat higher in itself, the glatt kosher meat higher. I've spoken to one of the distributors of the meat. He's trying very hard to get a slaughterhouse where only his own shachtim would shecht, and that would bring down the cost of the meat substantially. In addition to that, the kosher meat in itself has to be more kosher. It has to be costlier because of the fact that you have shachtim, you have mashgichim who watch, and all this has to be paid for. I don't have to tell you what salaries are today, and most of the shchitas are not in New York. There's very little shchita done locally, and as a matter of fact, there's very little shchita done in the metropolitan area. Most of the shchita is done out west. It means that you have to pay the expenses of shachtim to go out into these places, because shachtim don't live in these areas, and you have to bring them in from New York, and you have to bring them in from other areas, which cost money again. And all these costs are magnified by the fact that the costs are involved in the original costs, and then, of course, the profits that have to be made by the butchers and by the distributors and by everybody else who distribute these things. This is as far as meat is concerned, and the same thing is true as far as chickens are concerned. In the Hasidic shchitas, the shachtim have to be paid for in addition to the regular shachtim in some cases. In addition to that, in some of the places, the shchitas are smaller than in the mass productions. For instance, in some of the shchitas, whereas in some cases they can shecht as much as 1,000 an hour, in the glatt shchitas or in the Hasidic shchitas, they shecht less than an hour. because they want to be more careful in the shchitas, and because they shech less. That means that the prices are less because everything depends upon production. If production is slower, then the costs are higher. It's an unfortunate situation. However, there are cases where the raise in the prices are not legitimate. For instance, I have a hechsher on sugar for Pesach, Amstar, American sugar, and the guy who travels with me sometimes to the company says to me, "I don't understand, Rabbi. We charge the same price for the Pesach sugar as we do for the regular year. Why is it that the storekeeper charges more money?" And of course, I have no answer for that except that he wants to make more profit. Of course, that's an unfortunate situation. It should be stopped. I don't know personally how it can be stopped. There are things like for Pesach where the prices go up higher, and it's not legitimate because they do not pay extra for it. They pay the same prices, especially when it comes to these big companies. These big companies do not charge for the hashgacha. They do it as a service. And there's no reason for the stores to charge more money except that they want to make more profit. Perhaps if there was a citizens committee or something else like there are in other things to investigate these things and to find out why these prices are higher, maybe something can be done to stop this.
All right, thank you very much. Would you say that this also goes for the dairy products and like matzah on Pesach and so on? Would that principle sort of hold true for all these products, or are there exceptions?
Well, when you speak about matzahs, it depends upon what matzahs you're referring to. You know, you can buy matzahs, machine matzahs, which is $1 a pound, or you can buy hand matzahs, which is $5 a pound. Whether this is legitimate or not, I'm sorry to say, I do not know. I do not know the course. I do not know what is involved. Only I can tell you is that I've been to our place where we bake matzahs for Pesach, the Lubavitcher Bakery, and I've seen what they go through to kasher their plant. I can tell you this, that if the other plants had to go through some of the stringent things that they go through there, the prices would be triple that they are than that they charge. The costs of supervision, unfortunately, in their strictness of observance, are so high that unfortunately it brings up the prices of the products. Whether it's legitimate in the amount of that they're charging, we have to rely upon these people. They're elachiyim. I'm sure they're not taking advantage, and I'm sure that we rely upon them on other things. We can rely upon them that they're just making a legitimate markup, and unfortunately the costs, as you said before, we've got to suffer a little bit for Kashruth. The costs are high, and we have to pay for them.
Rabbi Levy, let me quickly, as much as time will permit, we haven't got too much time left, something like 4 or 5 minutes, but I just want to get a few quick answers from you. I know it's not easy to give a quick answer. Are there any kosher gelatins available?
There are no kosher gelatins available which are endorsed or accepted by the OK laboratories. The word gelatin, by its very meaning, means that it either comes from bones or it comes from skins of animals. The other gel desserts which we have, like Victor Victors and other desserts like that, are not gelatin desserts. If the word gelatin is used on the package, it means it comes from an animal derivative. We do not accept the heter which has been given by certain rabbis as to the kashrus of gelatin. The reason we do not accept the heter is mainly on the feeling that we have is not that the responsa is wrong, but the shaila that was asked is wrong. Most of the rabbis who wrote the responsa in permitting the use of bone gelatin have never seen the process of this bone gelatin. I'm referring to the Vilna Rav, the Chaim Mezer Grzinski, who gave a heter on this here product. He gave the heter on the basis of the gelatin being something new, chemically changed, and not being edible. None of these things are true, because all they do in the process of gelatin is they separate the collagen, which is a part of the bone or part of the skin, just like milk or cream is part of milk. And you won't say because the cream is part of milk, therefore it's not milchiks, therefore the collagen being removed from the bone makes it something different. It is not different. It's part of an isser. And it would be considered an isser if the gelatin itself is not if the bone or the skins are not kosher.
Rabbi Levy, I'm going to ask you to please answer your questions a little shorter, because I have a lot of questions. I haven't got much time. Answer me this: do natural and artificial flavors contain non-kosher ingredients?
Let me tell you briefly what you eat if you eat products with artificial flavors without a hechsher. Mind me, I'm not saying whether it's kosher or not, but it's interesting to know what you eat and what some of the ingredients used in artificial and natural flavor. There is an ingredient called civet, which is the testicles of a cat. There's an ingredient called castoreum, which is the testicles of a beaver. These are things that are used in artificial and natural flavors. We who give hechsherim on products, we check our flavors and our artificial flavors and natural flavors to make sure that such ingredients, plus other ingredients that are derived from animal fats or grape concentrates and things like that, are not used.
Rabbi, are there any shyness with dry cereals? It's a big item in a Jewish home.
Dry cereals uses vegetable shortenings, and I told you before, you've got to be very careful any products that are made in vegetable shortenings. Let me tell you too, there are vitamins that are used. There are vitamin A and D. Vitamin A and D is made from fish oil, which can be treif, and there are medias that are used in these vitamins that can be treif. All the vitamins used in post cereals are kosher, and I would recommend the best thing for you to do, if you must use dry cereals, use post cereals.
We won't charge you for that commercial, and neither will we charge the Post company. Rabbi Levy, one more question, and do it in a half a minute. What insignia do you put on your products where you give a hechsher so that the person can recognize that this is your hechsher?
Briefly, we use the Circle K. That is a trademark that belongs to the OK Laboratories, and it is our personal hechsher. Unfortunately, there are companies that refuse to use any trademarks. I'm not going to go into the details now. They refuse to use any trademarks, and they use only the K. And there are products that have the K on that are under our supervision. Not all products with the K are under our supervision, but there are some products with the K that are. And if you're interested in knowing which, when you subscribe to the Jewish Homemaker, there's a kosher food guide in every issue which lists all the products under our supervision.
Ladies and gentlemen, we had the pleasure of listening to Rabbi Bernard Levy for the last 2 shows with Jewish youth. We hope to have him back, because now I first really got started on asking some of the real questions that we all want to know about. So Amir Hashem, in a couple of weeks around, after he gets a little vacation, we'll get him back to us. Rabbi Levy is the Kashruth administrator of the OK Laboratories. He's the editor and publisher of the magazine The Jewish Homemaker, which could be gotten by writing to Post Office Box 324, Brooklyn, New York 11204. It's been a pleasure to have you in our audience tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Don't forget the work of With Jewish Youth. And if you can send a couple of dollars to help us in our work, do it. You'll be doing a great mitzvah. And until tomorrow night at the same time, may God bless you all.